really how proud I am to have the pleasure to get to serve with an amazing athletic department and coaches. Obviously, you just heard from Coach Elko, and the job that he and his staff are doing with our football program is pretty remarkable. But across the board, it's been really fun to watch the game tonight for volleyball, and Coach Morrison that was referenced is going to be really awesome. So to see that all of our programs work really hard in supporting young people and achieving at a high level has really been a great fall so far. We got to keep it going, keep working, doing all the right things, but proud of each of our program and all of our student athletes. With that,
we'll start third row on the right side with David.
Trev, can you take us through the timeline, how this all kind of unfolded with the timing with Coach Elko getting his and yours kind of similar? When did the talks kind of begin, and take us through that?
Yeah, sure. Happy to do that. And I'm not going to give you actually specific dates because I'll probably misspeak, but you know, a lot of these things kind of sort of happen organically. I think, as Mike has always talked about, partnerships are important. You know, at the end of the day, you're sort of just spending some time trying to understand, you know, where is the relationship? You know, how do you feel things are going? Mike and I talk all the time, but I think in about early October, you know, you start seeing. And some of the affirmation of things that we thought was happening, you know, you could see the cultural change. You could see a team that was responding in a way that perhaps maybe hadn't done before. And you saw the team, and I watched the very small nuances of things like, what does spring ball look like? What does fall look like? You know, what is the physicality going to look like? What's the togetherness of the team going to be? Because during the course of a football season, every team is going to go through a whole lot of adversity. And sometimes it happens in the middle of a game. Football is all about momentum. And so when you see our team be able to respond in the moment to some of that type of adversity and the momentum challenge, I think it's an affirmation of the culture. And so initially it's just an easy conversation between two families that kind of talk about, hey, you know, are you still seeing the same things that Angela and I saw when we were looking at Texas A&M? You see the opportunity. You see a place, given the realities of the changes in college athletics and where this thing is going, you know, being an athletic director at a place like Texas A&M, who has always been an incredible honor, right? But in the change and the modernization that's happening, it's probably an even different job. And I mean that in a positive way. Same thing for the football coach. So we started in early October just talking philosophically. You know, at the end of the day, these jobs are hard. And so if there is an alignment between the athletic director and the head football coach, it's hard. And we continue to see things the same way. And so we kind of started there. And ultimately, as we continue talking, Mike and I have enough of a relationship. It's not one of those deals where it's like, hey, go talk to my agent. Come talk to me later. I mean, Mike and I philosophically had a general idea, and you know, the market's sort of the market. That's really an easy thing for me to figure out. And then ultimately, I think there was a couple conversations with Mike, and then I sat down with Mike's agent, and it took about an hour. I mean, generally, when things are meant to be, they're not really hard to get done, right? It just happens sort of organically and simply. Mike wants to be here. Again, not speaking for Mike, but I think, you know, sees the opportunity. We're really fortunate to have him leading our football program. But yeah, I think early October, and then as it kind of materially moves forward, it just felt right and was obvious that we needed to get this done right now.
And for you as well?
Yeah, similar deal, you know. But at the end of the day, again, right, like you want to make sure, and not just the football coach, but all of your coaches. Look, all of us in these positions, like I'm perfectly imperfect, right? Some people may love working with you, some people might not. But at the end of the day, you're looking for cultural fit. You're looking to make sure that, you know, are we doing the things that you all as coaches need to be successful? I've always believed that, you know, at the end of the day, you know, you have to have a servant leadership perspective in these types of jobs. And, you know, because we're not going to win every game, right, David? As you know, there are going to be times where, so we've really worked hard as a department. Coach Elko's been a leader, but all of our coaches have been leaders about this idea of unity of purpose and being a family and being together. And it's really easy right now, right, when people are winning, to feel good about each other and be a part of a family. But there's going to come a time when it's not always so easy. And you're ultimately, you know, that cultural piece that a lot of our coaches are trying to create within their own teams, we need to have as an entire department and have each other's backs. And so, you know, for us, it was never a doubt. I mean, the place has always been and has affirmed what we thought it could be and is a remarkable, remarkable place with a remarkable trajectory. But really what makes this place different is the people. And Kyle Field's incredible, right? But it's the people. And, past leadership here deserves a lot of credit for the type of people that have been brought into this university, and I just get the privilege of getting to work with them.
We'll go front row on the right side to Travis and then
I'm sorry, that was a
Carter.
really long answer to a very simple question. Sorry.
Hey, Trev. I know a lot of talk about alignment between all the leadership with a new chancellor and interim president. Was there any more challenges in getting any of this done, or was it seemingly in line?
No, there really wasn't, Travis. It's a great question. I'm glad you brought that up. I do really want to thank the Board of Regents. There's a whole group of people that are working really, really hard, and it's not just for Texas A&M. It's the entire system. They don't get paid a lot of money to be regents, by the way. In fact, it's zero. Chairman Bob Albritton and Vice Chair Jay Graham really led the way, but all of the regents were just wonderful. We need that type of leadership. We need those folks working together, being unified, which they were. And got to engage with them very early on. Chancellor Hager has been fantastic and very supportive. Interim President Williams, in his short time, has been at a head coaches meeting. He's been at the all-staff meeting. He's met individually with some of our coaches. So we've had the necessary support from leadership, and it's really, really mattered. So I'm glad you brought that up. At the end of the day, if you don't have that type of support, that dialogue, and that sort of just everybody all in, especially with what's happening, as you know, in college athletics, now is not the time to be sitting in silos. Now is the time where everybody is grinding together and putting our very best at the middle of the table to say, what do we do long-term for what's in the best interest of Texas A&M? And that's exactly what happened in this process, and it made me feel, it even affirmed more that this is the right place for the future. This place can become whatever it wants to become. And that's pretty exciting to be a part of that.
Of course, there's reports out there that Elko would have been on some wish lists of some different schools. Were you ever approached by any of their schools to talk to them, and how much did any of that play into trying to make sure this got done?
Yeah, no, I was never approached by anybody, and this is not a reflection of us doing an extension with Mike Elko to try to play defense from other folks trying to hire our coach. This is a reflection that it didn't take us very long to watch what Mike has done for the program, to recognize that this is exactly the leader that Texas A&M needs to take this program to places it's never been, okay? And so when I look at a lot of different things, first of all, he really wants to be here. And that may not seem like much, but that's really, really important. Nobody's a hostage here, right? Like, he really wants to be here. So all of the things that makes Texas A&M unique, he embraces, which I think is wonderful, he and Michelle and their entire family. But it's the other pieces. And so what I think a lot about is, and I've said this maybe a little bit before, but, I really believe the job of a head football coach at this level in college is just way different than it was 15 to 20 years ago. So the profile of a coach that perhaps would have been very successful, yesteryear, may struggle today. And I believe that Mike has a skill set today. You guys have read, you talked to him today about the margins. He's very slim margins. And I think it takes a special person who understands things like complementary football, time of possession, like flipping the field, all those little hidden yardages within the course of a game, and the culture and all those things. And a lot of coaches have that. I'm not saying that Mike's the only one, but Mike has it in spades. And so I think, for me, it was, this is the right coach. This is the person that we need leading this program for a long time, and we need stability. And but yeah, I mean, it's not lost on me. This is about as wild of a coaching carousel as I think we've ever had in college athletics. And now I think Cal has an opening as well, right? So when you think about the number of jobs, I would just tell you, I'm not sure that there's enough coaches to fill all these jobs, right? And so we have an awesome coach. We have a coach that fits our culture spectacularly, and we're just privileged that he and Michelle decided to make this home for a long time.
We'll stay on the front row to Carter.
Trev, what do you make of what Elko wanted for his assistants, and what do you think that will do for the program, just kind of the resources, not just for him, but for everyone else too?
Well, I think it says a lot about his character. I think it says a lot about who he is as a person. Mike's not about Mike. Mike is about Texas A&M and Texas A&M football. That's a really important thing. And I really appreciate that about Mike. Travis, to your earlier question, in light of this scenario, we had a lot of drama, right? I think it said a lot about Mike and who he is as a man that we didn't engage in that. And I really respect him for that. Look, he cares deeply about the people that touches the football program. And I think it says a lot. Like, I think about this a lot, but the price of success will always be less than the price of failure, right? And so if you believe you have the right people to lead, then you surround them with as much support and care as you possibly can. And I think Mike has that same philosophy. Again, it feels like I'm not trying to speak for Mike, but just from my perspective in watching, I think that sort of action sort of displays the same type of thinking, right? And so we got the right coaches. The point now is let's make sure that they have what they need to win at a level that's demanded by the 12th man. And that's the effort.
Do you think with maybe the buyout put in place and everything else that it'll maybe keep future programs from, wanting to poach them or being able to poach them?
Well, who knows? Again, like I said earlier, you only want people who want to be here. Obviously, buyouts are part of that, right? Like we're making a significant investment into a head football coach. We do that with all of our coaches. We do the same thing with me. And so when you have that type of investment, there has to be some sort of protection on that. But again, at the end of the day, I think what's really important is this is a unique place. Every place is unique. And you want people that really want to be here. And Mike wants to be here, and we're grateful for it. We're really blessed and fortunate that Mike Elko is our football coach.
We'll go second row on the right side to Brian.
Trev, first an easy one. Is any part of the negotiations, did you commit more money to the NIL pool for football?
No, we really never talked about. I've read a lot of reports about commitments to NIL, and a lot of the reports that I've read, I'm not sure that that's legal, or at least the way it lays out. The point is only this. All Mike and I talk about is, hey, and I am, and we are, is Texas A&M committed to making sure that we're doing everything we can to have the resources necessary to compete at the highest level? Of course. That's our commitment. I understand the importance of football here. I understand that football drives all of the athletic department in terms of our economic future and all of that. So we will make whatever is necessary in terms of investment with football to ensure that Mike Elko has the tools he needs and his staff to be successful.
And then kind of a bigger picture question. I mean, when you were at Nebraska, that's the only show in town, right? It's the only game going, right? You come here and, for many, many years, there was an obsession with, well, what's happening in Austin? We got to match that or do that or whatever. And it sort of feels like that has gone away. Mike driving that. Mike doesn't really talk about Texas and all that. And do you feel like that from administration, from Hager on down, there's finally a feeling of how to become the best version of Texas A&M and not worry about what anybody else is doing?
Yeah, well, I'm glad you brought that up too. Look, I have a tremendous amount of respect for Chris Del Conte, my colleague at Texas, and they've done an outstanding job. I had the privilege of getting to compete in some of these rivalries, right? I mean, we played Oklahoma every year, and for us, that was a really big rivalry. And I think the thing you learn is if you spend all of your time, there's that famous thing on X now. I think it's Michael Phelps and his chief competitor, where Michael Phelps is swimming straight ahead and the competitor's looking at him. And winners focus on winners, losers focus on winners, right? That's the caption. At the end of the day, our job is to not worry about anybody else. Our job is to become the best Texas A&M that we can. And by the way, we have plenty of hard work to do to become great at Texas A&M. We don't have to worry about anybody else. So these rivalries are awesome for college athletics. It's what makes college athletics. We have a tremendous amount of respect for all that they've done. But yeah, we're really not focused on anybody but ourselves.
We'll go second row on the left side to Alex.
A little bit of a different note. Just curious how your soccer coach search is going and just kind of what you're looking for in a
I saw
new
you
soccer-
applied, and I appreciate you applying. You're down on the list right now, but we're going to keep, no. It's going well. Obviously, you're right, you have a job to do in spite of all the other things. And so I'm really fortunate, again, to have a great team around me. And so we're working through that process. Obviously, the soccer season's still going, but we're very confident we're going to be able to hire a really, really great soccer coach to take over for Coach G. And I should say, and I know many of you have a relationship with him, and what he invested here and what he accomplished here is pretty remarkable. So we're grateful for him, and he has left this soccer program here at Texas A&M in great shape. And so we're going to have an opportunity, I believe. We've had great interest, and we'll hire a great coach.
And then obviously the football game moved to Friday this year. With it coming back next year here to Kyle Field, do you anticipate that it'll be on Friday again? And just what are kind of the factors that go into that decision?
Well, you have a lot of different factors, and I do anticipate it'll stay on Friday. For us, and Chris and I talked about this a little bit, what you really want, from my perspective, is you want this game to be in a window where you're like it, right? We believe that this game, and it already is, but when two teams who invest so much in football and this game means a lot to them, this is a rivalry that has a real chance. And so you want that to be in a prime time window when the entire focus of the country is on those two brands. And so we're excited that it's in prime time. We're excited it's Friday night, and we think it's a perfect time. And I would anticipate, unless there's something significantly that changes with our television partner or even numbers of conference games and all those time in the future, but for right now, I think it fits really nicely Friday night.
We'll stay on the left side, third row, and then go to Rob.
Howdy. So you look at like all the teams like volleyball to football to baseball. What has allowed like the Aggies to maintain this level of success all across different sports?
Well, I think first and foremost, it's we have really good coaches, and but I think a lot of it, again, is just this focus of unity of purpose. And we do a lot together. We have regular head coaches meetings, and a lot of this is just communication, and it's talking, and it's intentionally showing them, that you care. And I think about it all the time. I mean, I think about administratively what our role is, okay? The administration is not the reason that these coaches are winning, okay? I would be very clear about that. But at the end of the day, you can't have an administration that is sitting there sort of saying, well, if they're successful, great, and if they're not, then we'll find another coach. I mean, we have to do our part administratively. And part of what our part is diving in and serving those coaches and understanding how we can support them better. And then when you start, you get this entire culture, and then you get great leaders like Mike Elko, and you get other great leaders like Jamie Morrison, and I need to say all of our coaches. Next thing you know, the coaches are really supporting each other, right? They're all dealing with some of the same challenges, but I think a lot of it is just spending time together. I'll say another thing. This is probably not going to seem like much to you, but when the Clark Nutrition Center opened and the Adam Sin building opened, it was a game changer. And we tell our donors this all the time. And this is why it's a game changer. Because in a fast-paced college athletics world, where you have different programs all over the university, if you're not careful, you don't even see them. But we have this training table now. We made the conscious decision to take on the added cost to allow our staff, administration, coaches, everybody gets to eat there. And I think that's really contributed to the overall culture of the athletic department. Other student athletes get to see other student athletes. They get to know them. Administrators get to talk to people. So I just think this whole thing kind of flows together in a way, and that's really been an important piece of it too.
We'll go fourth row on the left side to Rob.
Howdy, Trev.
Howdy.
In today's society, a head football coach typically doesn't go to a place that's an incentive-based. And just talk about Mike's character, that he was willing to come in here and have an incentive-based contract to show what he could do. Now he's done that. But also I wanted to ask you, there was a picture of his wife signing something. How important was it to get her on board?
Well, Michelle's great, and I think she was always on board. No, these are all things that are very important, though, right? I think, just like Angela and I think they have felt very welcomed here. It helps when you're 11-0. Mike had been here in the past, and again, the thing that I think the two of us, we talk about is we both see the opportunity here. We both see that this is a place that, with a lot of hard work and a little humility and a lot of humility and no insecurity, if you get everybody buying into something bigger than themselves, this is a place that we can do uncommon things. And in the new reality of college athletics, there are getting fewer and fewer of those athletic departments. There's still others. I'm not suggesting there's not, but it's going to get fewer and fewer. And so you realize how privileged you are to get to be a part of this institution. And those are just the, we don't talk X's and O's. I mean, Mike's forgotten more football than I'll ever know. It's more just philosophical about, hey, what are you seeing? Are we still, and it's just unwavering. It's just, you just, again, you see the opportunity here, and Mike's the right guy to get us to where we need to go.
We'll go third row on the left side to Matthew and then Cease.
Thinking back to your first year as the AD at Omaha, did you ever foresee yourself being at the helm of such a big program?
No. My wife and I talked about that a little bit. I don't know what this is, year 17 or 18, but it was 2009, and I got a phone call from a Board of Regent member asking me to consider coming back and serving the University of Nebraska Omaha. It was a Division II school at that time with Division I hockey. I didn't know anything about athletic administration, and clearly wasn't very intelligent because nobody else was interested in the job, so I'm not sure why I was. But anyway, just a privilege. Those 12 years in Omaha, I learned a ton, and it was a wonderful experience. And then, of course, we continue learning. But no, I never had part of the plan, hey, someday we're going to hope to get to College Station and work with the amazing people we have here at Texas A&M. So it's been a real blessing.
And then does this year's Aggie football team remind you of any of your Nebraska teams that you were part of?
Well, in some respects, when you look at almost any team that have won championships, there might have been a game or two where maybe there were some things that went your way, right? That perhaps ordinarily didn't. That happened a couple times when I played at Nebraska. There was a game we probably should have lost. The ball bounced the right way, but more importantly, it's just, and it's what I so appreciate about Mike. We live in a society that's so results oriented. Hey, we want to win a national championship in football. Well, of course we do. But nobody wants to talk about the process and the investment that actually needs to be made to get that outcome. So we become very outcome focused rather than the process. Mike doesn't spend a lot of time thinking about, and to be honest, in my time in playing, Coach Osborne never talked about winning. Ever. We never talked about winning. It was always about how are you practicing. It was always the little things, right? The things that people, and that's, again, why I have such confidence in Mike, is his focus on those granular details and the margins are what's going to separate schools going forward. And there's still a growth process, right, for our roster and everything else. But Mike is just really focused on having a tough, physical football team that wins the line of scrimmage. And you have to put the football team in tough situations in practice, because guess what? If you never go through it in practice and you get into the game, how do you respond? So a lot of how you've seen our team respond, that wasn't because of something that happened at halftime. That was fall camp. That was spring ball. And that's the cultural piece that I think Mike has such a knack for and a feel for that I think is elite compared to some of his colleagues.
We'll go front row on the left side to Cease.
What's the biggest challenge facing Texas A&M Athletics, and is that the same challenge you see for college athletics in general?
Wow, what a great question. It's not your first time asking questions, is it? Biggest challenge, I would say, what I'm going to keep pushing here is, is for this unity of purpose, right? Like at the end of the day, individual either programs, entities, or other things can have real excellence in and of themselves. But I think that the programs and the universities that ultimately go to win championships and multiple championships find a way to challenge themselves to say, it isn't about me. Let's be part of something bigger than ourselves. And let's come together to do some uncommon things, right? So I think the chief benefit of Texas A&M is our scale, right? That's how but how do you find a way to pull that scale all together to be pulling in the same direction? We've made good progress on that, and the Board of Regents has been terrifically important and helpful in that. So I would say that's for Texas A&M. The biggest challenge more broadly across college athletics is just the chaos, right? It's just, every day you're going to get up, you're going to read another story. We were on the 1 yard line on getting the participation agreement signed. And do you still feel like we're on the 1 yard line? Right? So I think at the end of the day, there's going to be a lot of noise. Who does a better job of staying focused on the task at hand, Let the noise be the noise. Don't respond to the noise. Stay unified, stay together as a team, and just keep your head down and work. Like, we don't need to talk all the time. We just need to work. Do the fundamental things that lead to winning in every sport. And don't talk about it, just do the work. And I think if we continue staying focused on that, all this other chaos will be around us, but Texas A&M, in spite of whatever happens, I believe is going to be fine.
We'll go back to the third row on the left side.
So for you as the AD, what do you believe are going to be the qualities needed as Texas A&M goes and selects their next president in order to maintain the success of Texas A&M Athletics?
Well, that's a tough question from the athletic director, but a good question. You know, I mean, these are really complex jobs to be presidents of universities today, right? I mean, when you think about, I think sometimes my job's a little complex. Well, we're basically a $300 million annual enterprise. What if you were leading a $3 billion enterprise, right? So the complexities of running the business of the university, of course, there's the politics of the university, there's a lot of different things. So I think, again, you know, my belief has always been in these types of jobs is it's a servant leader. It's somebody who sees the opportunity at Texas A&M of being in the elite university. My goodness, just dive in a little bit to outside of football 11-0. Just forget athletics for a minute. Look at our university in terms of its academic profile, in terms of the number of people that want to come to school here, our endowment, our research expenditures. I mean, this is a university that has been on the move. I just feel burdened about, as a leader of the athletic department, we need to do our part, right? Because I believe winning at the highest level and reflecting the values of Texas A&M through athletics as the front porch and the brand investment of the institution will change this place, even for the better. So the next president, he or she is going to have the greatest gift you could ever have, to get to be the president of a place like this. But you have to be a willing listener. You can't have all the answers. You have to listen, you have to be collaborative, and you have to be a servant leader. And I'm really confident in Chancellor Hager and the Board of Regents that they'll find a great leader.
We'll go second row on the right side to Brian to wrap us up.
Sure, we're talking about challenges in athletics right now. And one of the biggest ones from an administrative standpoint is donor fatigue will become very real at a certain point. I mean, it's easy when it's 11-0, money should be rolling in like crazy, but that won't always be the case. And so how do you think about revenue generation in this era where theoretically the numbers should only go up of what is going to be required to field a competitive team, and yet your donor base is going to be like, there's going to come a point where they throw up their hands and go, enough.
Yeah, no, it's an absolutely wonderful question, and it's a hard one. Because at the end of the day, there is a cost to all of this, right? So our job is to do the very best that we can. First, to be good stewards of the resources, you know, that the 12th man has given us. Number two, we cannot create a business strategy on the backs of our students or our supporters, and the 12th man and our ticket, purchasers and donors. And by the way, as you mentioned, when you think about prior to the House settlement with all the collectives, we've asked our donors, right? And so much of what you're seeing in some of our roster, those have been donors that have helped us. And so the fatigue is real. So our job is we've got to run a great business. We have to run a disciplined, accountable business strategy that ultimately leads to that type of success. And so we'll have to invest in certain areas that perhaps maybe we haven't before, and then perhaps we won't be able to invest in some areas as much as we'd have liked. But I will tell you what really excites me right now is that I get to stand in front of every one of our head coaches. And Texas A&M does not have a strategy that says, well, we're going to tier our program. So we're only going to invest in football. And we are trying to create a strategy where every single one of our programs can win a national championship. Now, I've been very transparent with our coaches. There could be a day where maybe that isn't the case, that we can't do that. But today, because of this incredible stadium, and by the way, how about the 12th man? How about the attendance at Kyle Field this year? That stuff is real. And I know the product on the field matters, and it's a big part of it. I think it's also in the game day presentation, how hard our staff works to make sure that people have a great game day experience. I just left a meeting prior to coming here where we all got together. We got to thank all the people. You wouldn't imagine how many people work really hard to make sure that those Saturdays go well. So, and then we got to look at other areas of where we can drive revenue. We need to drive more revenue in men's basketball, right? Like you look at what Jamie and volleyball have done. It'll be a record for the amount of ticket revenue that volleyball has generated this year. And then we've got to look at creative and entrepreneurial ways to drive more revenue. Really excited about our partnership with Playfly as that gets going next summer. We're working on some enterprise solutions, not able to talk about those today, but I think there's some opportunities and ideas about how we, again, monetize in ways, ideas and stuff that we haven't done previously. We haven't been forced to in college athletics. So it's just this really interesting dilemma, right? Where we are an athletic department that is here to support young people, to help them get college degrees. On the other hand, there's a cost to that. And with rev share, you better run a pretty good business or you're going to be in trouble. So, sorry.
That's all we have. Thank you, Trev.
We good? Thank you all.